Good morning and welcome to the ISO Board of Governors General Session meeting. Please note that all audience audio connections will be muted until the public comment portion of the call. We will give you instructions on how to ask questions at that time. If you need technical assistance, with that, I'll turn the call over to Chair Severin Borenstein. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And good morning to those of us in the room and to the larger group online. We have a agenda focused on resource adequacy primarily today, and with some interesting issues, and followed by issue on investment policy. And I think we're going to start with the decision on the general session minutes.
Actually, it's roll call first.
Oh, right.
We got to establish a quorum first.
Got thrown off.
No worries.
Right.
All right, if you don't mind.
Back to Greg.
Thank you. All right, so I'll start with Chair Borenstein,
Here.
Vice Chair Edo,
Here.
Governor Gledeva,
Present.
Governor Leslie,
Here.
and Governor Shorey.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you, Severin.
Thank you. And next we are going to go to the decision on general. No? Okay.
General
What am I
public
doing?
comment. Sorry, general public comment if there's any.
No. So we will ask, I thought you usually do this, so that's what's.
I'm sorry, I lugged you in.
Any public comment from within the room? Hearing none. Ahmed, could you look for public comments online?
As we move to Q&A, feel free to place yourself in the question queue by utilizing the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your screen. You can move your cursor to make the toolbar appear if needed. If you are on a mobile device, tap your screen to display the toolbar, then press raise hand. You will be unmuted when it is your turn. A pop-up message will appear and you will need to accept the unmute message to become unmuted. If you are on the phone-only line, please press #2 to enter the question queue. Please state your name and affiliation when you are unmuted.
And I'll just remind, these are comments for topics not on the agenda.
We don't currently have any raised hands.
Okay.
Now we're good.
Now I turn it over to Greg.
Long last. All right, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the decision on the July 23rd, 2025 general session minutes.
So moved. One second.
All right, Gledeva, then Shorey. I'll take a vote. Governor Borenstein.
Aye.
Governor Edo.
Aye.
Governor Gledeva. Governor Leslie.
Aye.
Governor Shorey.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
And now we turn to our esteemed CEO for his report. Esteemed CEO, take it away.
Thank you, esteemed Board Chair Borenstein, Vice Chair Edo, and governors. It's great to be with you today. It's been I think a really productive few days of meetings, and we have quite a bit on the agenda today. But I wanted to take a little bit of time with my CEO report today. I'm going to kind of work right through the material. There's a lot to discuss. I think it's just important to kind of emphasize some of the progress and emerging issues we're seeing. I think we're here now in a little bit last gasp of heat this week, but really largely with summer of 2025 largely behind us. I think, as we all know, this was another summer where we were able to see the fruits of a lot of work by our partners here in the state and the CAISO to, we've now got over 26,000 megawatts of new capacity online in the last 5 years. Our battery fleet now approaching 15,000 megawatts. We were fortunate that even with a very significant fire season here in California this year, the grid held up very resiliently, and third year in a row with no flex alerts. And of course, we stay ever vigilant. There's always work to do, but what we've also doing is we're finding ourselves now reminding ourselves more and more that reliability season does not end in the summer, right? We're spending an increasing amount of time actually looking at winter readiness as well. And so our teams have actually been running through a series of winter readiness activities that really, I think, are becoming more and more a part of our standard plan. Actually, on October 2nd, as part of these winter readiness activities, we had about 150 participants take part in a series of winter readiness meetings hosted by the ISO and RC West. really broad group of participants, including representatives from CAL FIRE, who were able to share weather forecasts and information regarding the anticipated seasonal wildfire threat. They also provided updates on the outlook for precipitation, water levels across the West, the status of natural gas supplies, details about planned outages, and construction that could affect transmission capacity, and other pertinent information. As we've done during the summer's ISO readiness activities, we also invited a series of energy providers, including natural gas pipeline operators, to participate and share information about the steps that they're taking to support reliability as we head into colder, wetter weather. And in general, I want to just emphasize across the West Coast, there is increasing focus on natural gas and electric coordination. We've been participating in a series of meetings up in the Pacific Northwest, through the utilities up there in Northwest Natural and the Northwest Gas Association. And we're going to continue to work and likely do some additional tabletop exercises to make sure that we have really good coordination, particularly going into winter, between the gas system and the power system. At this point, the forecast shows that we're actually trending towards a relatively weak La Nina, similar to last winter. That means we have the likelihood of near normal temperatures for the northern regions, with normal to above normal precipitation, and the southern regions are expected to see elevated chances for above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. We know that there is also always the chance for short-term extreme weather events, and we expect seasonally normal Santa Ana winds in Southern California to create fire risk similar to last winter, when, of course, Southern California experienced a number of devastating wildfires. So this, of course, is a new phenomenon, really a phenomenon that we have to watch very carefully. But overall, at this point, we believe we're going into winter in good shape, and certainly with ample generating resources on the grid. During these preparation meetings, our participants also heard from our operations team about some of the lessons learned from last winter, with the main one being another powerful reminder that fire season across the Western U.S. is no longer limited to the summer months, as the devastating Eaton and Palisades fires that occurred in Southern California in January of this year demonstrated. And while these events caused tremendous devastation and local reliability concerns, they also served as an important reminder to build flexibility into our seasonal planning and preparedness efforts. And I wanted to also, we appreciate those fires were so devastating. Through it all, we were able to have extraordinary communication and coordination with the transmission entities, both the public entities and the IOUs, and the broader bulk grid, of course, fortunately was able to remain resilient through those extraordinary events. Same thing this summer. So looking ahead, we've expanded our operations readiness through the Extreme Weather Playbook, which helps us prepare for severe conditions and aligns with new requirements set last year by NERC. And a key enhancement is how we actually forecast our short-term energy needs. In the past, we've provided a day-ahead forecast that extended over 8 days, but only flagged issues that could arise during peak demand hours. Now our forecasts are going to provide a full picture of every hour of the day for 8 days. And so we think that additional transparency and visibility will be helpful. In addition, plans for concerning circumstances, including regional gas issues, have been broadened to capture region-wide extreme events, which provide earlier situational awareness and better coordination. So when an extreme weather trigger is identified, the ISO operations team will coordinate, document, track, and log the event from initial forecast to operational actions. Just in general, just to focus, not only have we been focusing on this within our control center, but just generally increasing situational awareness for the region, making our actions more transparent, consistent, and repeatable across the organization and across the market, across the RC footprint. So just a little bit of additional news, as the grid continues to get stronger, between September of this year and next April, the ISO Balancing Authority is expecting to see another 4,343 megawatts of new resources come onto the system, with about 2,400 of that being battery storage. So we continue to expand the storage fleet. which is paying dividends across many different times of the season now. And of course, we also wanted to mention that we look forward to bringing on the new SunZia transmission line later this year. I know we've been getting regular updates from Didi and the team. Test energization of that, largest infrastructure project in North America has actually been going really quite well. This is a 551-mile bipolar 525 kV HVDC and 345 kV HVAC transmission system connecting to a 3,600 megawatt wind project in New Mexico. So we've been very involved in the testing and commissioning activities to make sure that this new resource is integrated reliably and securely into the Western grid. And I think, as all of you know, the SunZia line is one of two major transmission projects, Transwest Express being the other, that will bring clean energy into the CAISO managed grid using our new subscriber participating transmission owner model. So I'm sure there will be a number of us. I'm sure some of you will be invited or encouraged to attend. There'll be a nice inauguration ceremony for that major piece of infrastructure in the coming months. So in general, I think the lessons learned from last summer, combined with the ongoing operational capacity enhancements, position us to provide greater reliability and support across the West this coming winter. So always job number one for us here at the CAISO. A few comments about EDAM. I know we've talked about this the last couple of days, but certainly wanted to reiterate just the importance of the August 29th filing of rulings from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on the CAISO's tariff filing around congestion revenue allocation, and the, I think, strong endorsements of the tariff filings for both PacifiCorp and Portland General to join the EDAM. I think those were foundational rulings, really ratified, I think, the key core design elements and principles of the extended day-ahead market, and really gave us, I think, a tremendous tailwind going into implementation. I know earlier this week, Khaled was able to brief the Regional Issues Forum on the status of implementation. And I think so far things are going about as well as you could be expected. It's a huge lift, tight timelines, and a lot of work, but the team's doing an absolutely unbelievable job. And hats off to the PacifiCorp and Portland General teams who are working so closely with us to keep everything online for implementation beginning next spring. I also wanted to note that at the same time, right around the time of the August 29th rulings from FERC, we also, FERC accepted an agreement between the CAISO and the Imperial Irrigation District to integrate IID into the Western Energy Imbalance Market and EDAM in October 2028. I think some of you heard me say this before, but it is a matter of some satisfaction here and pride at the CAISO that all of the balancing authorities within the state of California for the first time will be participating in the CAISO energy markets. So it's a nice thing, and just fabulous partners and integrating the state common market platform for the first time. I think it's great. And then, of course, the last thing on this element is that last week NV Energy did file with the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada to formally request approval for its plans to join the extended day-ahead market in 2028. Some of you have heard me say this before. I had a chance to take a close look at that tariff filing. It's just the hats off to the MV team, and I think for anybody who is interested in furthering and continuing to deepen their understanding of the reliability and economic benefits of the WEIM and the extended day-ahead market, as well as the recent governance enhancements with all of the most recent developments reflected. That is a really comprehensive tariff filing. I encourage folks to read it, at minimum, the executive summary. And then, of course, we've also, I think all of us these last several weeks have been obviously very pleased to see the outcome of Assembly Bill 825. The governor was able to sign that bill on September 19th, 6 days after it was overwhelmingly approved by both chambers of the California legislature. I think the vote was 101-2. So as I've said before, just an incredible tip of the hat to the amazing coalition of people that came together to make that happen. We were fortunate earlier this week to hear from Kathleen Stacks and Jim Shetler and Evie Call, who with the launch committee, who did a lot of the groundwork and the pathways step 1 and step 3 proposals and helped lead the coalition. Really, really appreciate that. As I've said before, I think this really is a landmark achievement for the future of energy collaboration and innovation across the Western United States. And of course, there's work to do. We are, really, I think, very encouraged with the opportunity to collaborate with our partners throughout the West to help establish the regional organization and make the Pathway Step 2 proposal that inspired AB 825 a reality. At the same time, we do remain laser focused on EDAM implementation, and we will continue to maintain sort of our posture, sort of providing technical support and letting the formation committee and the stakeholders really take the lead in standing up the RO, getting the independent board nominated up and running, and of course, bringing the modern elements of the stakeholder process to bear. So we look forward to support that here in the months ahead. And just again, thanks to everybody. And I know that we've had a chance to brief the board on the core elements of the decision process. We will continue to keep our staff and our other key partners apprised every step of the way as we move towards implementation and hopefully seeing successful stand-up of the RO in the early part of 2028. Last couple things. I know I'm a little bit lengthy today, but lots to report. We continue to keep an eye on our storage fleet. As I think I always find this to be a pretty remarkable statistic. At the end of 2020, there was 101 megawatts of battery storage on the ISO grid at the end of 2020. Yeah. And today, as of the middle of this month, the number stood at 14,428. Obviously, an impressive rate of growth. I always think back to some of the policy pioneers here in California that laid the groundwork for that. And just it's been a privilege for us here at the CAISO to operationalize that fleet and bring it on board and to efficiently integrate it into our energy market. We know we've got some more work to do there. We've got a stakeholder initiative continuing to fine tune the rules, but in general, I think our experience with battery storage here in California has been very successful. I will note that over the last couple of weeks, there was I think a really strong article in the LA Times reflecting the role. And I always emphasize the batteries have certainly been a key element in the strategy, but it's taken the evolution of the portfolio, right? Really, it's taken a lot of different things. Batteries have been sort of the centerpiece, but I think the communication, the coordination, the onboarding of 26,000 megawatts of new resources in total has been critical. And just give a big round of thanks also to our partners at the state agencies, and the policymakers here in California who have done so much to ensure that those resources are procured and effectively administered through the resource adequacy program. And as I stated, we'll have another 2,400 megawatts online coming into this spring. So finally, I will just conclude. I know yesterday in the joint session, we were fortunate to hear from Anya Gilbert about the new accounting and reporting procedures that we've put together for GHG emissions. For me, I really like that model because I think that was an idea that really the clear and present business need for that from some of our key EDAM partners, stakeholders really advanced it. It was a great opportunity to kind of bring people together, come up with something that's clearly going to be value added. And I think very much in spirit as we continue to move forward by providing the essential balancing authority and reliability services in transmission planning and interconnection queue management for the state of California. And in this new world of AB 825 and independent governance of the markets, I think we're just excited to be able to perform both of those very effectively and to continue to enhance our service offerings for the Western markets and Western grid and really add value to our partners across the West. So thanks for a little bit of extra space and time today. There is a lot going on. And again, I want to thank all of you. And I just, when I get the opportunity to look around the table, my executive team, and all the staff here at the CAISO, just super proud and appreciative of all your efforts. You guys are just doing a great job, and it's dynamic and challenging and exciting times here at the CAISO. So thank you very much.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. This was
Well,
a great report. I have.
So any questions?
Yes.
Yes, go.
I have clarifications and questions. So the storage is really impressive. I'm very excited about 101 megawatts. You said 14,428. Is that individual installations?
That's the collective bulk grid installed capacity on the CAISO controlled grid. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And actually,
And how many projects, separate little projects? is part of
I don't
this?
know that number. Anybody know
Numbers
the
seem
actual number of individual projects? Is a good question. One.
Well, anyway, we can get it later, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's large and impressive.
Yeah, we were guessing between 170 and 200. but I think it's
170,
about
and
100.
actually two other numbers. One number I neglected to add, my apologies, is that just over the last couple of days, we have just actually released study results for 145 cluster 15 interconnection applications, another 68 gigawatts of capacity that has now had their initial study results. And I believe, looking at Jamie, that we will be posting today, if we haven't already, the Q3 Western Energy Imbalance Market benefits. Is that right? So do I get to front run that now, or I need to wait?
Yeah, what's the
Just
number?
posted. All right. So
Congratulations from November of 2014.
Yeah,
So a little more than 10 years.
another Q3, $412 million of economic benefits, and that does not touch on the reliability side, which we always like to emphasize because we watch that happen all summer long as that mechanism shuttles power across the grid. And now almost at $8 billion collective. And as I said in our press release this morning, I think now more than ever, this is a time for all of us to be working together to try to figure out how to both continue to support and enhance the benefits that WEIM. It has done nothing but deliver value and help keep the lights on in the West. So thanks again.
Yes, and building on that, I'm sorry, but your report today was too thrilling not to comment on. IID, super excited about IID joining as well. That's really an incredible achievement because they are a very interesting and a very important partner, and I'm glad they came to the table and they're joining both EDAM and EIM. Yes, okay, so they can join both of those together. So all of California is BAs now. Great, fantastic. And then, the SPTO model in Sanzia, congratulations on that. Where is the celebration going to be?
Working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna
Keep us
get,
posted.
we'll get the testing and energization done. It's a first of its kind in a lot of ways. So
But it's amazing. The SPTO model, I think, will take off. It is a blueprint for the future as well on how to build transmission out in the West.
yeah, I think that's right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I have more comments, but I'll stop now.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's okay.
I have two questions.
Yep.
One is, at one point, you, in your report, you referred to 2,406 megawatts of battery storage coming online by April, but at another point,
Yeah, that's a typo.
it
It
said
should-
6,000.
2,400 is the correct number. Yeah.
Okay,
I ran
okay.
that down this morning. So it's 2,400 is the correct number.
Yeah, the
It's that
6,000 got me very excited, but
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you for reading carefully.
Yeah,
2,400 will
Yep,
take it.
yep.
And that's by April. So as we get into summer, the numbers will be even higher.
okay, and
Yep.
then my more substantive question is, can you weave that in with the interconnection queue discussion and
Yeah.
how we are making progress? And is this a sign that we're making good progress? And
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. I mean, the way I think about the issues is interconnection queue reform in California is essential so that we can maintain our progress in onboarding resources, right? Oftentimes there's a perception that, hey, you have 500,000 megawatts in your queue and everything's stuck and nothing's happening. We have onboarded 26,000 megawatts of new generation in California in the last 5 years alone, right? And last year over 7,000 megawatts, right? And so we have awarded about 60,000 megawatts of deliverability for transmission, and that's inventory and that's progress. But we also know that we want to make sure that we're getting the best projects in the right locations with the right commercial attributes on the grid in a way that's synchronized with our long-term transmission planning. We're letting the transmission planning and the power planning lead interconnection queuing and procurement rather than reacting to it. And we want to make sure that over time, transmission deliverability, transmission capacity does not become a limiting factor on our ability to continue our progress towards SB 100 goals and onboarding of new resources. So the fact that we are able to successfully whittle the cluster 15 down by about 2/3 in terms of the total number of requests that were originally in it, and identify 68 gigawatts of resources, a quality supply curve of good projects in good locations aligned with our transmission plan, gives us a whole nother tranche of projects that will be available to help open up deliverability and maintain inventory of transmission capacity. So that's the critical part of it. So, but I want to also emphasize that, Neil and his team have been thinking about this for a long time, well before my time. And I think that what we've tried to do is we've tried to take additional friction out of the system and just make sure that the CAISO is never the limiting factor for the onboarding of resources. So that's how it fits. And the batteries, of course, have been the principal capacity resources that have been able to come on. And we will continue to be able to bring more of them through efficient queue processing.
Neil, anything to add? I don't want to.
Oh, no, I totally agree with everything Elliot just said. You know, I think the one part that we're always having to emphasize for people is that when resources are in our queue waiting, what they're actually doing is competing for power purchase agreements so that they can move forward. They are not waiting for additional work from the ISO. They're waiting for the, you know, it's a competition, it's a competitive environment. They're looking to get those power purchase agreements and be able to move forward with their projects. They're not waiting behind others for their studies to be completed. And, you know, that was an artifice many years ago, but that's not the reality today.
It's an outstanding point. We also need to continue working with our partners at, you know, the distribution utilities to support them to make sure that their necessary network upgrades and transmission projects are moving from the planning process into actual energization. So the siting and the permitting, the capital, the supply chain, all those other issues, we need to stay laser focused on that, because without energization, you're going to start getting short on inventory.
And can I just ask one? The 68 gigawatts have been awarded deliverability.
Well, there's the 60, there's two numbers. Why don't you, I'll let you
Yeah.
answer.
The 68 gigawatt number is the cluster 15 studies that just got their initial study results. Those projects have to decide, their owners have to decide if they want to put some money up, continue to move forward to actually complete, to get to an LGIA stage, to get to an interconnection agreement. The bulk of them are eligible for deliverability, but it hasn't been assigned yet. They're not at that stage.
Okay.
The 60 gigawatt number that Elliot referred to are projects that are in our queue from cluster 14 and earlier that have their interconnection agreements. They're dependent on transmission. They've been allocated deliverability, subject to getting built. The transmission that they need has already been initiated either through our transmission planning process or by some other interconnecting customer. So those projects, the transmission is moving forward, but they also would need a power purchase agreement and give notice to proceed and then get on with their interconnection.
Okay, so the transmission is not built for 60 gigawatts, but it is on track to be in sync with the
Not
new
a
capacity.
portion. Some projects already have the transmissions already there. The bulk of it, though, there are transmission projects under construction to provide that deliverability.
Okay.
That's why we got to get them built. Yeah.
So Elliot, I share your enthusiasm for the laser focus on expediting the awarded transmission, because we're interdependent in that, right? We have to work with a lot of people to make sure that happens.
We do.
And our friends in New Mexico and other places have shown us you can get it done faster and better.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really, really important points.
Any other comments or questions? And I think we are on to the next item, which is the WEM governing body chair update. And Chair Wagner is here.
Good morning. Oh, and this mic is working. I didn't want to be in exile at the dais because then I can't see you guys. So I'm gonna try not to cover the same territory that Elliot has already covered. And let me start over. Good morning, Chair Borenstein, Vice Chair Eto, members of the Board of Governors, our esteemed staff. The management team is fantastic. Nice to see you from this vantage point. This week was a busy week for the governing body. We joined in and listened into the Regional Issues Forum meeting that was held on Monday afternoon. Some great presentations on the pathways update, what the implications of AB 825 are. The RIF is undergoing like a self-evaluation to identify enhancements it can make during this transition to the regional organization and the future stakeholder representative committee, also known as the SRC, and what can the RIF be doing now in preparation for that transition. And It's been helpful to watch this evolution of the RIF really stepping up and trying to make the stakeholder process the best that it can be. And Elliot noted that we heard from Khaled on the update on how things are going from his perspective. That's overwhelming and exciting to me. But it was also great to hear we heard from PacifiCorp, a representative from the Utah Association of Municipal Power Systems, also known as UAMPS, and Pacific Gas and Electric. And it was particularly interesting to hear from UAMPS because they are embedded in PacifiCorp system. So, but they have implications. There's implications for them for PacifiCorp joining. And I understand that the ISO had hosted a large team from UAMPS to come do some training. And it's great to see that those folks being pulled in and getting the training done now, because it is a big deal. I used to like to say the step to EDAM is just the next logical step, but now that we're in implementation, it's amazing the project, the magnitude of the project. In our general session on Tuesday, just highlight a couple of things. We've reformatted our briefings a little bit. Now we have what is referred to as spotlight moments. And as Anna McKenna would say, this is an opportunity for staff to bring forward some of the policy initiatives that are in flight. We get a chance to hear from stakeholders directly, whether they are doing a formal presentation. We had a number of letters filed, as well as some public comment. And we covered the price formation enhancements initiative and the gas resource management initiative. I would note that the gas resource management initiative was scheduled to be decisional this time, but there's some more fine tuning that Anna's team is taking on, and we look forward to potentially a presentation and a decision in December. So this noting for you now that this would be on a consent agenda for you as well. Just looking forward between now and the next meeting, kind of like the day in the life or the next month in the life of a governing body member. We'll continue to follow the initiatives that are in flight, particularly interested in gas resource management. As we know, it'll be decisional. Look forward to MSC's comments on that, as well as DMM's. I would say it's safe to say we are obsessed with EDAM implementation, both from the ISO's perspective as well as PacifiCorp. They're hosting a training, and I think most of us are able to attend virtually or in person. So that's kind of exciting to see the nuts and bolts of it. And hopefully that will lead to us having a better understanding for Portland General and other entities as they come in. We want to be a good partner. We'll continue engaging with stakeholders, existing EIM, future EIM, and EDAM entities. We stay in regular contacts with our stakeholders throughout the region and within California. We have 2 representatives, liaisons on the formation committee, so we're able to, where appropriate, offer some insights where we're coming from, as well as the Regional Issues Forum. So we stay pretty busy in the interim between our meetings. And as Elliot noted, it's very exciting, especially for me being from Nevada. NV Energy filed its application with the Nevada Commission. I think we're all excited to follow that proceeding. It's on a short timeline, about 4.5 months before the commission has to issue a decision. It's a well-done application, and I know my former colleagues on the Nevada Commission will do a great job. I shouldn't say that, that's not fair, but it's a great filing, so it makes it easier when you have a good filing to work with. On that note, I will wrap up, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chair Wagner. Any comments or questions or clarification or other issues.
No, just to say, we appreciate the collaboration. Thank you, Rebecca, for all the hard work, and thank you to all your colleagues as well. And thank you for being here in person. We're grateful for that.
The weather is so much nice. There's so much nicer here. It's like I dread having it. Actually, it's not bad in Reno, but I do have a lovely drive over the mountain now. And it's good to see you all.
Well, have a good drive. Okay, onward. I'm going to turn it over to Anna McKenna, who is going to introduce the next two items.
Actually, there's one item
Oh.
before that. Sorry, Severin.
Wait.
Well, it's just a matter of acknowledging the public comment letter.
Oh, you do that. Okay.
I do that, yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry to step on your toes. So I just want to take this moment to acknowledge that the board received a public comment letter from Middle River Power, been provided to the board and posted to the public website. Thank you. Now, Anna.
Thank you, Greg. Well, good morning, Chair Borenstein and Vice Chair Edo and Board of Governors. It's a pleasure for me to be introducing today. I'll be introducing two topics related to enhancements to our resource adequacy processes. I wanted to note that these are two incremental changes, and they are part of a more comprehensive effort to enhance our resource adequacy processes. And these two changes provide incremental benefits, and we thought it was a good time to bring them to you, but do recognize that we'll be bringing more items to you next year as we close in on some additional enhancements. And with that, I'd like to introduce Partha Maldekar, our Principal of Resource Adequacy, and he will be providing you the briefing on a decision for resource adequacy modeling and program design track 1.
Thank you, Anna. And before I jump in, I'd like to thank as well the RA team here at the ISO. I'm joined here by Aditya and Mark Hustra, who are really instrumental on the modeling side in terms of developing out these processes, as well as not in the room is Ansel Lundberg, who led the policy development, and we have Becky Robinson, who's led our policy development team as well. So yeah, really appreciated the collaborative effort. I think both from the internal as well as from stakeholders, we had really good engagement with the development of this proposal. So jumping right in, this final proposal seeks to update CAISO's default methodologies for qualifying capacity and planning reserve margins by incorporating the capabilities and characteristics of the evolving resource fleet. Instead of the current static process, we are introducing a new annual process that will better reflect characteristics of the resource fleet and the changing load needs. The framework was developed through a transparent stakeholder process, ensuring it reflects broad and inclusive input. The methodologies allow for the CAISO's default rules to meet the industry standard reliability benchmark of a 0.1 loss of load expectation, and allow the ISO to articulate on a consistent and transparent manner the reliability of the fleet. So as way of background, each local regulatory authority program design requires two foundational building blocks: a planning reserve margin and an associated qualifying capacity criteria. The two pieces are designed to fit together to produce an expected portfolio that meet the target reliability objective. I want to flip to the next slide. Thanks. So while the local regulatory authorities have the primary role in setting QC values and the planning reserve margin, the ISO has a set of default rules in the tariff, which serves as a backstop in case that a local regulatory authority doesn't provide values to the ISO. While some local regulatory authorities, such as the CPUC, have robust modeling processes to set PRMs, most local regulatory authorities have indicated at least partial reliance on the CAISO's default rules to set both QC values and PRMs. Stakeholders in the working group process indicated one challenge was that the current values included in the tariff were out of date. The values didn't reflect the relative contribution of the resources to reliability given the transforming fleet, and the 15% PRM included in the tariff was likely insufficient to meet a 0.1 loss of load expectation. So in terms of the proposal, management is proposing a forward-looking approach to setting tariff values, moving away from a fixed planning reserve margins to an annual process for determining qualifying values and a planning reserve margin. Specifically, management proposes differentiated default QC values tailored to each resource type. For renewables and energy-limited resources such as wind, solar, run-of-river hydro, dispatchable hydro, and energy storage, we're proposing to use an average effective load-carrying capability, or ELCC methodology. The ELCC captures both capacity and energy contributions through probabilistic modeling, reflecting the system-wide interactions that affect these resource types' reliability value. For dispatchable thermal, nuclear, and pumped storage hydro resources, management recommends an unforced capacity, or UCAP method. Unlike ELCC, this method acknowledges the relative stability of these resources, ensuring their resource contributions is correctly stated. We note that this approach also aligns with established regional programs such as RAP and the CPUC's methodology, promoting consistency and coordination throughout the region. Finally, for non-dispatchable thermal, supply-side demand response, and participating load, we use a 3-year average generation calculation, performance-based average load curtailment calculations, and average demand response reductions per event respectively. Given the constraints for these resources and the infrequency of the dispatch, we determined that these various approaches will most effectively capture the value of these different resource types. Together, this proposed framework, updated annually, will offer a more precise, transparent, and adaptable method for managing resource calculations and assuring information we provide to LRAs and stakeholders can accurately reflect the reliability contributions to the fleet of different resource types. I'm going to flip to the next slide. So in terms of stakeholder feedback, we had strong engagement and valuable feedback on our proposed default qualifying capacity values, the modeling process, as well as interactions with local regulatory authorities. To highlight a few of the pieces of feedback, local agencies, including the CPUC, NCPA, and 6 cities, really emphasize the need to maintain their authority to set RA methods within their program design. We noted that while the ISO's default rules will serve as advisory information, we also recognize that they'll provide valuable information to these entities in terms of what the system needs are from the CAISO's perspective. Others remain concerned about coordination with the CPUC framework going forward, given their UCAP methodology in particular was in flux. We believe that values and processes here as in place will be effective and coordinated, but also as a part of the annual process, we can seek to align with best practices throughout the region, including the evolving CPUC program and design. I'm going to flip to the next slide. The ongoing stakeholder engagement is designed to achieve the best practices here. While the ISO has not updated our rules here in 20 years, we're really seeking a process that will recognize the need to really update and reevaluate the input assumptions given the evolving fleet. And the outcomes from our design and processes can be used and incorporated into the LRA's tariffs in an efficient and effective manner. We're willing to flip to the next slide. So finally, our proposal here is to have an updated default rules, which should demonstrate the procurement requirements that would ensure a reliable bulk electric system if adopted by the local regulatory authorities within our footprint. And with that, I will stop for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Martha.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I have a
Okay.
comment.
Okay. Go.
That was a very good presentation, Parsa, and
No, it's on.
it's on.
Move forward.
And I'm inclined to support this proposal because to my mind, it's essential that we have an up-to-date methodology in place. And I'm particularly pleased that you recognize the state of art, it's always changing. And so having a process for updating it makes perfect sense to me. So, and I really appreciate the engagement of the stakeholders to make sure that it is the best in class and the commitment to continue ensuring that it is. So thank you for the hard work.
Yeah, thank you, Partha, for the hard work. This is useful and it's necessary. And another example of the good work, as Joe pointed out, in collaborating with stakeholders and ensuring that we have an open and transparent process, which is one of ISO's flagships of Enjoy and Pride. I just wanted to find out, curious, how long did this process take? Because I know we're going to go through several iterations. We're always flexible. We're always continuing, but from a timing point of view, what was the duration?
No, that's good. That's a good question. I think in terms of engagement with this process, it was roughly a year in terms of the development out of this. We really had started off with, I think, Aditya and his team were really kind of grounding in a more enhanced modeling framework within the ISO's footprint. So that was really sort of step one before we got to the default values. Was Aditya and Mark Huster leading a process with stakeholders to really ground them in the modeling itself. In terms of developing the default rules, that was probably more of maybe a 6-month process in terms of gathering feedback and understanding how we can take those modeling results and transform that into a effective program design from a counting standpoint.
Right. This is obviously a heavy lift for you and your staff. So thank you. Congratulations. And every process, I mean, we get the results here, we approve them and they're phenomenal, but it's a lot of work of a lot of people for significant amounts of time. This is complicated and complex and very important work that you're doing. So thank you.
No, thank you. I certainly would thank stakeholders as well. That we had a really great engagement. from the
Absolutely.
stakeholder
Without the
community.
stakeholders, we don't have a process. So yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Partha. And I'm very pleased to see us doing this the closer we could get to not using, my history, we used to use annual averages, then seasonal averages. We're getting a lot more sophisticated now in our planning standards in terms of trying to be more realistic about what to expect. So looking at your slides just caused me to think at the 1 in 10 loss of load expectation, LOLE. Is there any discussion going on that standard and whether or not that reliability standard should also be reevaluated? And that's been around a long, long time. And I just want, is it being driven by NERC? Is that the NERC standard that everybody strives to achieve? And are they having discussions about getting more sophisticated about that?
Yeah.
It's Neil here. I could take a first cut at that, and then I might also ask Aditya to join to speak up about this a bit further. But I don't see anyone challenging the 1 in 10 LOLE standard as being an appropriate metric. It's also got the benefit, unlike other metrics that are being developed now, it's got the benefit of the history of providing a level of service that has generally been considered to be working for people. So I don't see it going away, but other metrics are also being developed to hone in on particular issues like the amount of actual unserved energy, the duration of outages. So as opposed to replacing it, we are seeing, and this is something that NERC is also looking at, exploring other metrics that help fill in the rest of the picture instead of just looking at the one metric. I don't know if Aditya would have more to add on that because he's been participating in a number of NERC
That's
efforts
good,
in that
actually.
regard.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, nothing more to add there, Neil. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No other comments or questions from the board. Next, we will go to the Department of Market Monitoring. Adam Swadley, you are on. There you are.
All right. Good morning, Chair Bornstein, Vice Chair Edo, and Board of Governors. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to share DMM's views on the Track 1 proposed changes to resource adequacy modeling and program design. DMM supports the Track 1 changes, We believe the updated default methodologies for qualifying capacity and planning reserve margin will create a consistent modeling framework for the ISO to determine system reliability needs while also maintaining the autonomy of local regulatory authorities. We note there are some unaddressed issues that will need to be revisited in the context of default values and modeling process. These include the seasonality of default values, unforced capacity modeling, the interaction of interdependent policies such as outage substitution, the resource adequacy, availability incentive mechanism, and capacity procurement mechanism. These outstanding issues should not delay the Track 1 changes. However, DMM recommends the ISO incorporate revisions to these policies into the default values and modeling process as their parallel policy development processes reach conclusion. This concludes my comments. Thank you, and would be happy to take any questions.
I actually have a question, and maybe I'm not sure it's of you, Adam, or where is the RAIM process in terms of timing? We keep saying that should happen too. Yeah, Partha?
I'm happy to take that. So we have a concurrent track going on as opposed to Victor RAM reform. And at one point in time, these were heavily linked. There was some question throughout the stakeholder process whether or not we were going to have basically a standardized haircut methodology that would help incent performance and availability, or this would be more informational included into our default calculations. With where we're at, we basically are now, we've had some input from stakeholders of the need to coordinate with that. So where right now we have an initial straw proposal that's being developed and has been shared with stakeholders sort of at a draft level in terms of a change to our RAIM design to be more targeted at specific hours of risk was sort of how we've been framing that with stakeholders. But we're expecting that to, proceed in the next year and come to the board as our objective in 2026.
In 2026.
That's
okay. I'll look forward to that. Any other comments or questions to DMM? I guess mine wasn't a question to DMM, but thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we go to public comment. So Amit, are there any public comments from within the room? Seeing none. Amit, if you could see if there are any public comments from people online.
As we move to Q&A, feel free to place yourself in the question queue by utilizing the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your screen. You can also press the #2 button if you are on the phone only line. Please state your name and affiliation when you are unmuted. We do have one hand. Please state your name and affiliation when you're unmuted.
Good afternoon. Oh, actually, good morning, everyone. We didn't quite make it to the afternoon. I'm Carrie Bentley, and I represent the Western Power Trading Forum. WPTF is a broad-based member organization dedicated to transparency and competition. WPTF strongly supports the RA Track 1 changes and applauds the CAISO for expanding their internal expertise and processes to evaluate forward reliability. We believe that the capability to do this complex loss of load expectation modeling will allow the CAISO to move forward more rapidly with future reliability enhancements. The CAISO will have the models, expertise, the core processes already in place to improve their assessments of things like future gas retirements, which we do see looming on the horizon. It will also really set the CAISO up well to do broader West-wide reliability assessments. Finally, we want to emphasize something that's already been talked about and just how hard the RA modeling team worked to include stakeholders in this process. They were incredibly responsive to questions, suggestions, and there were a lot of them. The CAISO has just hired a lot of great people over the years. And the Director of Resource Assessment and Planning, Aditya Yayam Prabhakar, he's just been one of the best. And I just had to make sure that he was recognized for his efforts in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. It's nice to get comments like that.
yeah.
Amit, were there any comments or responses needed to Carrie's? Okay.
There are
Um,
currently no raised hands.
For what it's worth too, I wanted to thank Carrie has been one of our most engaged stakeholders on this topic. She's logged a lot of time here in the building and provided a lot of input. And I think it's really contributed to strengthening our resource adequacy capabilities. So thank you, Carrie, for those.
Thank you,
those
Carrie.
comments.
Okay. And Ahmed, did you say there were no other hands?
Yeah, there are no other raised hands.
Okay. Then I am going to turn it back to Greg Fisher.
All right, thank you. So I have a proposed motion for the board. Moved that the ISO Board of Governors approves the Resource Adequacy and Program Design Track 1 final proposal as described in the memorandum dated October 22, 2025, and move that the ISO Board of Governors authorizes management to make all necessary and appropriate filings with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to implement the changes proposed in this memorandum, including any filings that implement the overarching initiative policy, but contain discrete revisions to incorporate commission guidance in any initial ruling on the proposed tariff amendment. Can I get a motion?
I will move.
That was Edo?
Yes.
Edo to move, and a second. Galetova. All right, I'm going to take the vote now. Chair Bornstein,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edo,
Aye.
Governor Galetova, Governor Leslie,
Aye.
Governor Shori.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Excellent. Then we move on to item 6, decision on resource adequacy modeling and program design, track 3A. Back to you, Anna.
Well, without further ado, I will just
Well-
say that
One more.
Wait, oh, right.
I was just taking my cue. so-
I'm sorry. There's a letter that I have to acknowledge. Just like the last one,
Yep.
there is another letter that we received, the board received from Middle River Power.
Yep.
The letter has been provided to you all and as well as posted to the public website. Now you can go. Thanks.
Well, I won't belabor this any further. Partha, I will be providing you the presentation on track 3. And with that, I'll just turn it over to Partha. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And I would start the same way off this one with sort of kind words from my colleagues and stakeholders. There's a great effort in terms of developing this proposal. This one was a little more ISO focused, as you'll see, in terms of the design and drivers, but we still had, great internal and external work in terms of developing the proposal. So as a part of the proposal, management requests approval of our proposed design to improve the ISO's visibility into the capacity available within our balancing authority area, specifically capacity eligible for the resource adequacy program, but not currently shown as such. This proposal helps the ISO more effectively maintain grid reliability by giving us better insight into the status of capacity that could be used for backstop procurement during times of need. We're concurrently proposing to end publication of our current outdated non-RA capacity report and instead provide visibility into the aggregate values provided by resources shown through this process. Thanks. Today, management is proposing enhancements to improve visibility into the resource fleet by requiring annual and monthly reporting of all resource adequacy eligible capacity within the ISO's balancing authority area. This change will give the ISO a clearer, more timely view of the entire capacity fleet and strengthen our ability to maintain grid reliability. This information will be for visibility only, with no new availability requirements placed upon participants. However, it will enable the ISO to better identify capacity that could be available for backstop procurement through the capacity procurement mechanism, particularly during periods of grid stress. Improved insight into unshown capacity will allow more targeted outreach, faster procurement, and improved system awareness. To meet this need, scheduling coordinators for resources in the ISO Balancing Authority would be required to report monthly and annually capacity that is sold outside the ISO Balancing Authority, not shown due to potential unavailability, not shown due to being reserved for substitution, contracted to an ISO load serving entity but not shown as RA, and not contracted. I'll go to the next slide. Based on the stakeholder desire for simplicity, the ISO provided additional details and clarifications within this process. First, reporting requirements apply only to resources located inside the ISO's balancing authority area and that appear on the ISO's net qualifying capacity list. The ISO intends to make an aggregated version of its results available to market participants for their use. There will be no availability requirements associated with the reporting of these resources. And for the year ahead report, scheduling quarters may use only the first, fourth, and fifth categories if they're not able to estimate capacity that will be unavailable or used for substitution. As an additional part of this proposal, management proposes eliminating the monthly report for non-resource adequacy capacity. Evidence that this report has been limited based on the market participant feedback. While not an exact substitute for this non-resource adequacy capacity report, the aggregated results of the proposed new reporting requirements will provide transparency to the status of non-RA resources for all participants to see. So in terms of stakeholder feedback, stakeholders were generally neutral or supportive of providing the ISO with greater visibility into the non-RA fleet. Mill River Power, as indicated in the letter, had a couple of recommendations, including implementing a real-time tracking system identified as a potential less burdensome path for stakeholders. Some stakeholders also opposed retiring the non-RA capacity report, but none of these stakeholders provided direct evidence of significant usage of the capacity report and the impacts to the participants from that lack of data. With that, I will end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Partha. Any questions or comments from the board?
Except to express thanks again for working so hard. You, the stakeholders, Adam McKenna for your leadership and everybody else. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes, your mic is not on it.
I think it's.
Oh,
I can't miss an opportunity to say, and my colleague Neil, because we partner on these matters. Thank you.
Well, what I saw in the memo is that we already have the authority to request this information. So I think it's extremely commendable that you formulated this in conjunction with our stakeholders so that it will be a very inclusive way of proceeding. And, you know, I'm going to be the last one who wants to give my operators less tools to use when things get tight. So this is very thoughtful and a very appropriate approach. Thank you.
Okay, so we will now go to Department of Market Monitoring for a comment, and that's Adam again.
All right, well, a couple of minutes into the afternoon, so we'll say good afternoon, Chair Bornstein, Vice Chair Edo, and Board of Governors. Thank you for the opportunity to share DMM's views on Track 3A of the proposed changes to resource adequacy modeling and program design. DMM also supports the Track 3A proposal. The ISO has tariff authority to procure backstop capacity using the capacity procurement mechanism by way of the competitive solicitation process. However, if there's no capacity available through the competitive solicitation process, the ISO can procure backstop capacity bilaterally. The Track 3A changes introduce valuable informational enhancements that we believe would improve the visibility of available capacity and facilitate more efficient and expeditious bilateral procurement by the ISO. We note the ISO has not recently had any deficiency for generic or local resource adequacy capacity. However, the capacity procurement mechanism is a key tool for ensuring reliability in the case of capacity shortfalls, and therefore we see the importance of its effective and efficient operation when needed. In addition to the reliability improvements, we note that the additional visibility into resource adequacy resources internal to the CAISO balancing area would improve a system-wide understanding of recent trends in the capacity procurement mechanism and the competitive solicitation process. So this concludes my comments on the Track 3A proposal. Thank you, and would be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Adam. Questions, comments, thoughts from the board? Hearing none, we will go to public comment. Is there any public comment from within the room? Seeing none, we will go to Amit and ask you to see if there's anyone online who would like to comment.
There are currently no raised hands.
Seeing no online raised hands, I will turn it to Greg Fisher.
Thank you. I have a proposed motion for the board. I'll read it now. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the Resource Adequacy Modeling and Program Design Track 3A Resource Visibility final proposal as described in the memorandum dated October 22, 2025, and move that the ISO Board of Governors authorizes management to make all necessary and appropriate filings with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to implement the changes proposed in this memorandum, including any filings that implement the overarching initiative policy but contain discrete revisions to incorporate commission guidance in any initial ruling on the proposed tariff amendment. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, Glitova and Edo. Take a vote.
Shorty and Edo.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Jim. Confuse me. I'll take a vote now.
We sound alike.
Yes. Chair Bornstein,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edo,
Aye.
Governor Glitova, Governor Leslie,
Aye.
Governor Shori.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Well done. Great work. That's a lot of.
Okay, on to item 7. But I'm not seeing Ryan. Oh, there, of course, right.
Yes, quick topic for you today. No
Looking for you at
presentation.
the, anyway, go on.
The corporate investment policy governs how we invest and manage corporate assets. Like all corporate policies, it has an annual review process that it goes through, and as long as those changes are minor and don't change the way we invest the assets, those are approved internally. However, once every 3 years, we bring it to the board for your approval. The board last approved the policy in October of 2022. And since then, during the annual reviews, there's just been some very minor word edits. You have a red line version attached to the board document, which shows those changes that have occurred, which are very minor. But anyway, we're here today for your final approval on those changes. That's the end of the presentation, but happy to answer any questions.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
thought it looked good. I mean, they were minor. And I noticed in the report on our current revenue that we were up. We have a little bump. We're ahead of schedule. I'm just curious.
Yeah, the interest income this year has been it's been obviously a very good year in the investment market. So yes, we are running ahead of budgeted interest income.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I think we can ask for public comment then, within the room. Amit, can you check to see for any public comment online?
We don't currently have any raised hands.
Okay, then Greg Fisher.
All right, thank you. I have a proposed motion, move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the amended investment policy as attached to the memorandum dated October 22, 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Leslie and Shori, thank you. Chair Bornstein,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edo,
Aye.
Governor Glitova, Governor Leslie,
Aye.
Governor Shori.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Then we are on to item 8, informational reports that have been provided to the board. Any questions or comments from board members? And then I have listed,
We're very excited about the savings on the WEIM. That was over 7 billion. We might want to just take a moment. Almost 8 billion. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's quite remarkable. Yeah. That's worth it.
And as,
Second thought.
thank you, Marion, as Chair Bornstein reminds me constantly, the reliability side of the equation is a piece of it that we're thinking more and more about how to characterize. So thank you for your comments and just both the economics and reliability side, big part of the picture. So thank you.
Well, yes, and the way we look at it, it's like the MasterCard ad, right? So many benefits, billions of dollars of benefits, reliability, priceless. There you go. So we need to figure
Okay.
out to quantify it, but it is priceless.
so I have here public comment on information reports.
It's a standing item. You don't.
Is it?
Right,
Okay.
okay.
So are there any public comments on the information reports? In the room? Ahmed, could you check online?
We do not currently have any raised hands.
Okay, on to item 9, future agenda items. Anyone suggesting future agenda items?
We're going to have plenty for you.
Okay, I think there will be plenty without us suggesting. Then I think we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.